Hello, welcome in this tutorial session on geozones. Geozones are probably the most used and one of the most important concepts in the senseless platform. Let's take a look there. So what you see here is the asset map landing page, where you see the locations of all your assets on a map. You see that we've done some grouping on the map, but fundamentally this is a set of locations without any logical relation to them. Now let's focus a bit on the area in Spain. So if we go here in Spain, let's enable the satellite view once, you see that this is the factory location in Spain, Valladolid, where we have a location. Now it would be nice if we could logically group this and create some reporting based on this location. And that's exactly where geozones come into the picture. So let me go to the admin area and then we go into geozones and let me add a geozone. Now let me disable the satellite view again. I'm going to enable the asset view. Well, we're back in the same location. Now when I want to create geozones, there are two ways. There is the very straightforward and simple way, and which is in most of the cases sufficient, is to just draw a circle on the map and give it a name. Factory Valladolid. I can choose an icon for it. Here we go. Let's drop the image. I'm giving it a color. Green is nice. Okay, and I'm going to save that geozone. Now, once I've done that, let's go back to the map and see what has happened. Now you see that on the map that geozone is visible, and you can control whether geozones are visible using this selector at the bottom. Now the geozone is, you see the pop-up, the name of the geozone. Now if we look at an individual asset, you can also see what is the current geozone, which is the geozone which we've just created. Now if we go into the detail page, you also see that this type of reporting is present. Now if we zoom out a bit and let me take a look at the geozone which was created before, and you can see that there's a lot of reporting available because these geozones exist. The current number of assets in them, the stock evolution, the dwell times in the stock. You can also easily filter the asset list based on geozones. Let me do this factory Valladolid. Likewise, there is a large catalog of alert rules which is all related to geozones. Now you can get an alert when an asset is inside a geozone, when it's not inside a geozone, when it's too long inside a geozone, too long outside of a geozone, when the number of assets in a geozone is too low or too high. So you can see that there's a rich catalog of rules available which require that geozone to be created first. Now let's go back to that geozone creation and see which other options exist there as well. We had already the manual drawing. A first alternative is to import a list of geozones through Excel or CSV. We have a specific file format. The easiest is to download the example templates and take a look at how the format should be used. So this is also a method which can be used in an iterative way. What I mean with that is that you import the geozones once, you maybe do a few corrections, you export the list again, you add new geozones to it. Whatever is not changed, we will not touch. So it's a process which you could run regularly, for example, by exporting your list of customers from your own system and periodically importing this into our system. A more advanced integration is possible using our REST APIs. I'm filtering here on all the methods which contain geozone. As you can see, we can retrieve all the geozones, but we can also create new geozones using those APIs. Right. Voilà. And this gives you a quick overview of what you can do with geozones and how you create them. Finally, I still should give a few recommendations on good geozone design. And let's go back to our factory in Spain, right? All right, here we are again. The first one is related to the size and the boundaries of the geozone. It's fairly natural that you try to, let me do this with the polygon, and that you try to create your geozone very precisely along the borders of the area in question. Now, in many cases, this is not the best approach, and let me tell you why. The reason is that tracker localization comes with a certain precision. And depending on the technology which is used, GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, there could actually be a deviation from the actual location, which could be small, but in the case of Wi-Fi, it could also range into the 100, 200, 300, even 400 meters. And so if there is no other zone of interest in the area, make your life simple and make the geozone a little bit larger. It will ensure that the assets which are just on the border still fall inside. Secondly, it is a good idea to use Geozone Tax. Geozone Tax are created under the Geozone Tax area. The idea there is that you have lots of geozones for different purposes. Some geozones refer to your own locations. Other geozones are about your customers. And so create the tax first and then use the tax, and let's go to the geozone which we just created, to categorize these geozones. And let's call this a warehouse. The reason we want to do this geozone tagging is that if you go back to alert rules and reporting, using tagging, you can make the rule apply to a whole category of geozones, which is a lot easier than each time a new geozone is created to add the geozone to the enumeration of geozones which are relevant for the alerts. Okay, thanks. I think this concludes this tutorial and demo, and I hope to see you soon again.